I need to know everything, who and the what and the where, I need everything. Trust me, I hear what you're saying, but act like it's new what you're telling me. I'm curious, George, I hop in the Porsche, 5 and a horse, I'm ready for war, I'm coming for throats, to turn to a ghost, I need to know everything. Now you be surprised at the info you get is by letting them talk, so I'm letting them talk. Gotta keep quiet, maneuver in silence, to let them in, chalk up their body, another one body, that's just how it go.
Hello and welcome, JK+1. I am not your host, PTF. He said he's at the pool today. He's swimming. Yeah, I mean, what kind of bathing suit Pete wears? Never mind, that's not important. I am your host, Jonathan Kinchin. It is Whitney it's Whitney week. I guess the next week is sales week, but it's all one weekend, right? Saturday we've got Whitney. Sunday is a day of health and wellness. You have to prepare yourself for what's to come on Monday. And that's really the topic of this conversation. We're going to talk with Boyd Browning and Evan Ferraro of Fasig-Tipton about the Saratoga Select yearling sale that's coming up on Monday and Tuesday. We also touch a little bit on the New York bred sale that follows. I always tell people, and they don't ever believe me, that are new to racing, if you've never been to the Saratoga Sale on that Monday and Tuesday, you are missing out. It's the who's who of racing. It's the who's who of stallions, of broodmares, of owners, of trainers, the jockeys, media. Everyone comes to the sale, has a few adult beverages, and watches it unfold. Watches horses go for millions of dollars, watches horses go for $750, $800, and also get to see some of your favorite horses, especially the female horses, some of their offspring go through the ring. And it's, like I said, it's my favorite. It's my single favorite day of Saratoga. And I mean, like, well, at least socially, my favorite day is probably Whitney Day or Travers Day because I love the racing on those 2 days. But my single favorite day in Saratoga throughout the meet is without a day, the Monday of the sale. So wanted to take the time to catch up with the fellas at Fasig to talk about what they had going on, the history of the sale, so on and so forth. Want to thank our friends at Qatar Racing once again for their support of JK+1. And look, it's Caravel around the corner, I think, for the Troy. Looking forward to that. And then also, I'm looking forward to seeing what Sheikh Fahad and the team at Qatar Racing do at this sale. Something tells me they're going to be a little bit involved. They were involved last year. And look, we know the damage they do overseas, and we're seeing the damage that they're now going to do here in the U.S. in terms of creating a pretty powerful operation. So I'll be looking forward to see what they do. We'll be looking through those results to see Qatar Racing show up as signing some of those fun tickets. Let's get into it. Like I said, the boys from Fasig, Boyd Browning, Evan Ferraro. Boyd, Evan, what's going on, fellas?
What's happening, JK?
Just getting ready to head to Saratoga. We're looking forward to one of the best weeks of the year, and very excited and can't wait to get up there, Jonathan.
Boyd, let's go titles real quick for the uninitiated. Boyd, your title at Fasig-Tipton?
President and Chief Bottle Washer.
Evan, your title?
Director of Marketing and Professional Fixer.
Professional Fixer. I bet you have lots of fixes happening this week. Boyd, how many Saratoga sales is this for you?
This will be my 34th. I've been at Fasig 35 years. We had the infamous COVID year, so it'll be 35 minus 1 is 34, I believe.
Evan, how about you?
This will be my 15th. Started in 2008 and took COVID year off, but I've been every year other than that.
And John, for the record, I was 12 when I started, okay? Just so that nobody has any misunderstanding about my age, I was 12, okay? So
in Kentucky, they don't have a lot of employment regulations there, so they got you in early.
Started young, indeed.
I was 26 when I started, but I looked 12.
Well, so for the uninitiated, I'm sure a lot of people that listen to this will be initiated, but for the uninitiated, I always tell people that, especially like, I was recently married, so we have a bunch of people at the wedding that want to come to Saratoga. And I always say, you got to come sale week. And they're like, what? Yeah, you got to come sale week. You got to come because it's a Whitney on Saturday, the test on Saturday, and then you got the sale on Monday. And they're like, well, what's the sale? And I always describe it as like it's this unbelievable cocktail party with all of the who's who in racing. There's rulers of countries. There's people who are betting $2 on every horse to show. And it's the greatest mixture of people in racing. And they're buying $1 million horses and selling $1 million horses. And it's just the most fun thing that I think we have in this sport as an event. I know you guys are really proud of that sale.
Yeah, we do. It's this is the 102nd, and it's been our flagship sale for a century, and it's just a really special sale and a special place. We take so much pride in everything from the horses on the grounds to the way the grounds look and present to the service to just. It's important to us to put on a good show up there. It's the best of racing and sales.
Yeah, and Jonathan, I think in many ways it's also like it's the reunion tour, shall we say? I think that a lot of folks, don't get to see each other as much during the year. You get to Saratoga. Everybody looks forward to going to Saratoga, and you get to renew friendships and acquaintances. And if you've got any love or affection or desire for the thoroughbred business, like when you get within the city limits, you can just feel the energy in the air, whether you're going to the sale, whether you're going to the races, you go into a restaurant and there's people talking about, what do you like, who won the feature, or what do you think about that ride? Or, it's just the whole community is immersed in the thoroughbred world for those 40 days of racing. And then it's intensified. It's kind of like you have the huge multiplier effect when everybody comes in for the sale. And it's about 5 or 6 days of just nonstop action. Some of it is social for sure, in terms of, a few drinks will be served over the next week or 10 days in Saratoga. But it really is about the horse. And that's kind of the cool thing. I think getting to Saratoga, I think, reinvigorates people. It re-energizes people. It gives you hope, and it's a feel-good place. And we're just so proud to be a part of it. And, I think it's a huge part of our identity as a company. And, we love Saratoga.
Boyd, Evan, you guys will be heading up tomorrow. So I'm a little behind the scenes. What are some of the kind of the checkpoints for you guys over the next few days in terms of, you get here, you have I'm sure you have a kind of a meeting and you talk and we got to do this and we got to make sure this is done. What are some of the important checkpoints that you guys have over the next 5 or 6 days until Monday?
Ev, I'll go first. I mean, honestly, Jonathan, at this stage of the game, we better damn well be like 99% prepared. The facility looks fantastic. We've got a great guy in Saratoga on a full-time basis, Manny Hernandez, and Manuel. He just does a fantastic job with he and his crew, and Isaac Wagner are up there, and they treat the place like it's their own house and their own yard. We bring in our facilities manager from Kentucky, David Kyle, who, runs, the two of them work hand in hand together to make sure everything runs smoothly. The horses basically are, the catalog's set. We know who's coming. We know, you may have a few last minute defections. One doesn't x-ray, or one may come down with colic, or I always have a few of those unpleasant surprises. But the reality is that, between now and next Tuesday night, we just we're kind of like firefighters. So something happens, a horse pops a gravel. Can we get a blacksmith there? Can we, so-and-so's flight, they missed their flight, they missed their connection. Can we get somebody from New York City to Saratoga? So-and-so thought they needed 3 rooms and needed 4 rooms. Can you get somebody extra seats in the pavilion? I mean, it's really, it's more just customer service side of things right now. And the last minute surprises, you can't ever anticipate everything. But, most of the die is cast. And, what we now concentrate on is making sure that everybody that comes in contact with the sales facilities and the sales experience, we make that as positive as possible, make it as easy and comfortable for both buyers and sellers alike.
Yeah, a lot of that is last minute, just taking care of people with the last minute details, making sure all our buyers are comfortable, the sellers are comfortable. Trying to get somebody into Salivo if we need to, stuff like that.
I know somebody. In your 15 years and you're 35, what are some of like the week of obstacles you can remember, if you can think of anything, kind of, having to drive down to the city to pick up a buyer, or anything that stands out?
There was one that was kind of funny. I've only been with the company a couple of years, and we were at the cocktail party, and I already had maybe one or two and was settling in for the evening. But and then I get a call that to make a trip to the airport, to the private airport there in Saratoga. It was looking at lucky. It just won the Haskell, and Bob Baffert and his crew were flying in, so they asked me to go pick him up. So I pull onto this runway, and I'm in a Kia that's probably 7 years old, completely filthy, and was filthy when I picked it up in Albany. And I pull right up to the stairs. They're coming in a fancy G5, and there's me in this dirty Kia. So that would be one.
Yeah, Jonathan, a little behind the scenes detail on that. So Evan is at the cocktail party, and I say, Ev, I need you to do me a favor. Sure, no problem. What do you need me to do? I need you to go pick up Baffert and his crew at the airport. He looked at me like, you have got to be kidding me. He's like, I don't know.
Yeah,
you're sober enough. He's like, I got a Kia. And I said, I don't give a damn what you're driving. You got to go get, do we want Baffert at the sale or not? He's like, I'm on my way. So
actually, the question was, are you sober? And I said, ish.
Yeah.
We got him there, dropped him off at Ciro's, and it was all good.
There you go. That's all that matters. You gotta have the big shooters there. Of the 235 horses or hips that you have, I know you guys have a couple of special, or at least one special things. I was talking to Bobby Flay about it. Of those 235 hips, what's the process for creating that special, Saratoga Select yearlings list? What does that process look like, and when does that start?
Well, it starts, I want to say it starts 365 days of the year. It starts after the sale's over this year, but we really get into it probably in January, going through lists of breeders and seeing what folks have, and reaching out to people and starting to build up a rapport to see how their horses are going, kind of get a feel for what they think works. And then it starts to progress as we get into inspections in April. And from there, a lot of it's working with consigners and breeders. And, so many people that sell Saratoga, I mean, they're such pros. I mean, a lot of them know what they have. And, we've got guys that have been looking at horses for Saratoga for a long time and know, what works. And so it starts there. We do the farm inspections. There's some discussion, give and take, and it works through a process of 5 or 6 weeks from April to middle of May on getting things finished up there. But it's about, it works both ways, because you want to have the right horses there, but at the same time you want it to work for everybody. So through the years, we've learned kind of when stuff doesn't quite hit us 100%, we'll tell people, like, we're not sure we got the right spot for you, because it's you don't want to send somebody up there without the right horse and have them have a bad experience.
Yeah,
Boy, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, I mean, literally, Jonathan, like this year, we have our nomination process. People submit entries or nominations to ourselves, and we sort through a population of about 2,500 yearlings that will basically physically inspect probably 95% of them. They're not all pointing for Saratoga. Some will be pointing for the July sale, and some will be pointing for the New York bred sale. But it's a pretty intense 6 weeks or so when you're visiting farms nonstop. We'll have basically 3 teams going at any point in time doing the inspections. But what we're looking for is the best of the best. I think our reputation as far as the sales company for many, many years has been that we are like really confirmation physical type people. We want good individuals. We might forgive a little bit on the pedigree in certain instances, but they're going to be really good horses. And that's the thing. That's kind of our motto, is that we want, when a buyer comes on the Saratoga sales grounds, I want them to have a short list that's way too long. that they say, you know, they got to do second, third, fourth, fifth looks to remove horses from their list because they keep seeing good one after good one after good one after good one. And I think that, you know, we've got a really solid group of consigners that support us, you know, every year. We think we have a pretty good idea of what works at Saratoga in terms of physicals. And you always want to just get a combination of physicals and pedigrees, diversity of pedigrees, but you also want to have some superstar pedigrees so that, you know, when a man or woman comes on the Saratoga sales grounds, they're thinking, I want to buy the next flight line. I mean, plain and simple. Hey, how do we have they're coming to buy the best of the best flight line. You know, this year in the inside front cover is Songbird. You know, they were talking about career and life-changing horses, and those are the kind of horses that we're trying to put in front of people to chase the dream. It's all about the big horse, and it's all about finding the right horse. And that's what makes it so great, is that no one knows, regardless of your system, regardless of your approach, none of us have, which one, none of us know who was going to be Flightline at that sale. And none of us knew who was going to be Songbird at that sale. And none of us knew who was going to be National Treasure or going to win the Preakness that year. And that's what makes it so exciting and so fun, is that you can kind of like make your draft right now, and then you're going to get to watch them progress over the next 3 or 4 years if you're a casual observer or somebody that's involved in the game.
Do you guys have like a cheat sheet where basically throughout the year, you know, when your select sale graduates are running? Because I'm assuming that you're watching them like you almost like you own them. You know, the other day Evan texted me about a half that was in a sale that ran. You know, when I was on air, that New York bred for Brad Cox. I mean, I'm sure you guys watch these graduates like you own the horses.
Yeah, I mean, we have a grade stakes races. We know everything that's running. That's a graduate. We get a sheet that tells us that around the country. But the truth of the matter is, we're all such a bunch of racing and sales junkies that we're all going through the form all the time anyway. So we already know the stuff. Like in a maiden race, we remember the horse. We'll go look up our notes on it from Saratoga, things like that. So we do have some data that helps us in the grade stakes, but honestly, we kind of keep close tabs that it's probably not necessary at all times.
Some would say we're sickos, Jonathan, because we kind of live, eat, sleep, drink, just like you do. I mean, we you know, it's, my friends tell me that aren't in the horse business that we don't have a job or we don't have a career. We've got a lifestyle. And I think there's a whole lot of truth to that. I mean, like, you know, you're watching horses breeze in the morning, and you're watching the races. You know, on weekends you might be, you know, the feature at California Del Mar this weekend will be at 9:00 on Saturday night. It'll be a grade one, and I can promise you this: the bar at the cocktail party will be full of a bunch of phasing people and a bunch of horse people that are junkies, because there's a grade one, and we're damn sure going to be watching the grade one to see who wins the grade one at Del Mar on Saturday night, after being at the races all day and seeing horses on the grounds all day, because we're engaged. It's a lifestyle.
Yeah, we probably got a pick 5 going too.
Of course. Boyd, how do you handle when you have a good customer that doesn't have the right horse? I mean, I'd imagine that at times you get forced to kind of have to maybe jam one in there for them just to keep that relationship. How do you handle that? Does it happen often?
Everything we do is built on relationships, 100%, 110%. Evan and everybody kind of gets tired of me probably preaching it's relationships, but it's the truth. And the way you deal with that is you tell the person, I don't think your horse works, or we don't think your horse works. It's not the right horse to go to Saratoga. It's an expensive proposition to go up there and buy your horse back. And nobody likes to buy a horse back at any sale, regardless of where it takes place. And occasionally, but not very often, but very, very rarely, somebody will say, I think you guys are wrong. And I really, really, really believe in the horse. And I've watched this horse grow up, and it's going right. And, you know, depending on your relationship with the person, sometimes you'll say, okay, I'm going to give you a shot. Don't be mad if it doesn't work. We don't feel good about it. I hope you're right, but we don't feel good about it. But it's all about it's about honest and open communication, telling people the truth. And hey, we screw up. I can promise you, there's going to be horses that we didn't like that are going to sell later this year after the Saratoga Sale that we're going to want to go throw up that we turned them down or we didn't push for them hard enough. We're going to be happy for the seller because ultimately everybody needs some success. But it's just being honest. It's being truthful. We're not know-it-alls. We don't know what's going to happen. And horses change. We're looking at these horses in April for the most part. And the horses change over that next 4 months. Sometimes they go the right way. Sometimes they go the wrong way. So it's just honest communication.
We always see after the sale's over, we always see, Blood Horse will do the write-ups and TDN will do the write-ups of all the sales stats, the average this, the average that, the median this, the median that, the high this, the high low, the low. Which stat is the most important to you, Boyd, and Evan as well, that's the one that you look at first, that you think really gives the best indicator of how your sale went and how the market's going?
You won't believe me when I tell you this, Jonathan. Like at Saratoga, we've got, obviously, anybody can go on our results page and you can track the results and see what the stats are and see how things are going and so forth during the sale itself. From the very first hip number, after 2 hip numbers are sold, you can see what the average is. At Saratoga and in our November sale, I refuse to look at the stats during the sale itself. My job at that stage is to be involved and engaged with the sale process itself. And it sounds crazy, but mine's more of a gut instinct of how I measure the success of a sale. The one stat you want to maintain or control as best as you can is the RNA rate, because as long as people are getting horses sold, and we have a pretty good idea from discussions and kind of what the range people are looking for in terms of the value of their horse. And when you're seeing people kind of squeak by on their reserves, it's like, it might be a little touchy tonight. When you see people, the consigners' reactions, when you see consigners like 4 horses in a row, them high-fiving each other after the horse goes through the ring, you're having a pretty good night. It's so, at the end of the night, with a small catalog of 200 horses, a few big horses can kind of skew the statistics, particularly the average. So I don't really think that's the best overall number. RNA rate's important to me. The average and median are important because that's what everybody gravitates to. It's the easy stat. It's kind of like looking at a baseball player's batting average, but to really understand, you better study behind, when are you getting the hits? Are you getting the hits when you're down 12 runs in the 8th inning when they got the last guy in the bullpen? Or are you a clutch player? We want to be clutch players in terms of getting horses sold effectively for people all the time.
Yeah, I think a lot of it is an intangible. I mean, a lot of it, truthfully, on the selling end is how many of your sellers have got smiling faces there at the end of the night. I mean, that'll give you a good gauge of how strong the market is.
Well, and the other thing is, honestly, and this is, I don't know about when the people are bitching at you, you're not having a really good night. And when there's not a whole lot of bitching, you're having a pretty good night. I mean, it's like, we're engaged. I mean, we're easy to find before, during, and after a sale. And believe me, the people that we do business with are very willing to share their opinion, whether it's good or bad. But that's how we want it. But so it's, as I said, you can kind of measure it by the feedback you're getting, which is oftentimes instantaneous.
Yeah.
One of the things, so, I've done some real estate in my days and I've always felt like, where you get the seller, if the seller has a realistic price, it gives everyone an opportunity to have some success, but sometimes you can't control an unrealistic seller's expectations. And I would imagine that you guys probably deal with that when it comes to the reserves. Tell everyone listening, like I said, for the uninitiated, how does the reserve process work? And how do you manage expectations? Because you're setting yourself up to get someone to be sad at the end of the night if they put a ridiculous reserve on a horse.
I mean, really, a reserve. The best way to set reserves when you have all the information at hand, and whether it's selling yearlings, you know who's looked at the horse multiple times, you know how much vet work they have, um, and at that point in time, the seller's got a pretty good idea of how his horse vets for the most part. So that, and then from there, you decide kind of what your value of your horse is and set your reserve accordingly. Um, and like in say the November sale, when you're selling horse, like breeding stock, horses off the track, things like that, they stick to their appraisals on paper for the most part. So, like we've got a pretty good idea where we feel horses should be selling in that sale, and from there, it's just trying to get on the same page with the seller and manage expectations, and just try to make sure that everybody succeeds.
Yeah, and JK, that's one of the challenges is that, from our perspective, and I think from a good seller's perspective, your reserve shouldn't be one bid below the maximum price you're willing to take. It should be like, 2/3, 75%, because you are 100% right. You've been in enough auctions, whether it's horses or real estate, that getting people engaged is so important, because then they have a kind of an emotional commitment to the process. So you want to give people the opportunity to bid. Once again, it goes back to setting a reserve. It's kind of like it's the back end of the sales process. You tell people the truth. You tell them what you kind of think their horse is worth. The good news at a sale like Saratoga is that the agents and the consigners that are up there are across the board 100% pros. It's not amateur hour at Saratoga. That's major leagues. That's the all-stars. So you get a lot of, they know, the consigners know what they're doing and communicate that information to the owners pretty relevantly. And at the end of the day, a man or woman's got a right to set the reserve wherever they think is appropriate. You can give them the best advice that you can, and they have the ability to set that reserve. You can encourage them. You can try to advise them. And there's been times when, there's nothing that can make you look dumber than trying to appraise horses. We had a horse sale in November many, many years ago where she brought $10 million named Hob de Grace. And Mr. Porter and I argued for a day before she was selling what the reserve was going to be. And he was saying, I want $6 million for it. And I was like, that's not fair. Anybody who bids $5 million ought to be able to buy your horse. And we went literally, Rick and I were good friends and so forth. So literally about 4:00 that afternoon, we'd argued and kind of bitched at each other all day long. He called me and said, all right, I'm coming over here. I'm setting my reserve with TaylorMade. He was like, okay, what are you going to do? And he's like, you've told me anybody bids $5 million should have the right to buy Hob de Grace. I was like, yeah, yes, sir. Yeah. And he's like, well, she's worth more than that. I said, I'm not arguing that, but $5 million is a lot of money. And he said, I've listened to you whine and complain for 3 days. I'm setting the reserve and I was like, oh God, here it comes. He said, like $4,499,000. I just don't want to hear you whine. So she brings $10 million. And, it's pretty emotional. I mean, it's not very often you get to sell a horse for $10 million. And I said, Rick was my friend and we had a very good relationship. And so we're hugging after the horse sales. And he looked at me and he said, I'm going to tell the press. I'm going to tell everybody I know, you're the worst damn appraiser of a horse I've ever met in my life. So it's like, fair enough. And aren't you glad I missed on the right side rather than the wrong side? So,
what's funny to that point though, Boyd, is that what I think sometimes, and that I know you guys have to deal with, is the emotional connection to the horse, because you're not having that emotional connection. You're telling him that having a reserve at 7 or 8 million is not a smart business decision for him. And he is telling you that my horse is worth more than this because she's made me cry 17 times on the racetrack. And there's a difference between the emotional connection, which happens in real estate too. People fall in love with their house. Well, my kids were born here. Yeah, but the people that are buying it don't care. And so it's not necessarily you're a bad appraiser of the horse. You were just giving him advice that he didn't want to hear because of his emotional connection.
Thank you for giving me the caveat. I think I did a really poor job of appraising her value. But no, you are right. And oftentimes, I mean, the really good horses are in many ways kind of like someone's children, particularly, if they've raced the horse and you're selling out of the mare, or they've got it's personal to them. And you are right. You try to, once again, it goes back to communication. I mean, it sounds like a beating a dead horse, but you try to give them the best advice that you can and say, if I owned her, here's him or her, here's what I would do. But, you've got the ability to do whatever the hell you want to do. So we're going to do the very best job that we can for you.
And one of the things that I picked up when hanging out at the Timonium sale, when we did that video together with the Hennigan brothers, one of the things that someone told me that I thought was like a really good line is that this part of the industry is so tricky, because if a horse sells for $1 million, there is one person in this world who feels like that horse is worth $1 million, but yet that's the final number we have in our brain as what the horse's value is. Well, everyone else in the world did not think the horse was worth $1 million. Only one person did.
Yeah. And
hopefully two did.
They're worth.
hopefully the other one thought the horse was worth 900 or 950. So, but yeah, I mean, and it's subjective. I mean, that's the thing that's impossible to judge, particularly like at a yearling sale or a 2-year-old sale, is like it's all based on potential. And that's why, that's the great thing about it. It's like the NFL draft. I mean, Tom Brady might be, whether you're a Brady lover or hater, he might be one of the best all-time. He is one of the best all-time players in the NFL. He was a 6th-round draft pick. I mean, we don't know. You never know. You can't measure the want-to in a horse. You can't measure the want-to in a human. So what makes it great.
Are the orders of the hips strategic, or is there a lot more randomness to it? Or do you guys sit there and really like with a whiteboard and say, let's go here with 1. No, let's move that one to 10. Let's go here with, how does that order come to be?
Alphabetical by damn. Draw a letter out of the hat.
There it is.
Yeah. Start this year, the Saratoga Sale with the letter. I'm pulling out the catalog. I think it's B.
Oh, is it a random number that you start with, or is there just no A damn?
Well, no, we drew B out of the hat.
So okay.
So A will be at the end. So we'll start with the B's and come back to the A's.
Yeah. The last horse the first horse in the ring is out of Baby Go Far, and the last horse in the ring is out of Azalea Bell. And next year we'll draw another letter out of the hat and we'll spin it from there.
How many emails or texts or calls did you field when the catalog was released where people didn't like where they were, or do they just kind of know that that's how it is?
I had one. And it was not very pleasant, but I mean, you can't, somebody's got to be early and somebody's got to be late. And that's why you try to do it fairly. And, that's the process, and everybody can't be quote unquote right in the middle of the catalog. The one thing that we can try to do, and I think all the sales companies try to do, is you try to make sure that, you've done a lot of promotion on the front end, and the astute buyers are ready. Well, Cott Campbell, when he was at Dogwood, was one of the great horse buyers that I've ever met in my life, because Cott would sit there, whether it was a Phasic sale or any other sales company sale, and I'll bet you 75% of his purchases during his career at Dogwood were within the first hour of a sale. Because Cott would say, I'm ready to go. I know what I think the horses are worth. I don't give a damn what anybody else thinks. And if there's any hesitancy, I'm going to buy these horses. And bought tons of really good horses. He also was more willing to bid on a horse with what he viewed as a minor problem that the vets might not live with. And was a brilliant horse buyer because he trusted himself. He trusted his instincts. And I think that the good news is that we've got a very professional buying bench these days. And if their favorite horse in the sales hip number 2, they're ready to play ball when hip number 2 walks in the ring, and they're going to go to the mat.
Yeah, especially a sale like the Saratoga with a limited number of offerings. I mean, it's not like you're sitting there waiting for another 1,000 to come down the line. I think everybody's pretty ready to go and settled on what they want to shop for, even if they fall early.
Yeah, I mean, I would kind of compare it a little bit to like, I get this question a lot, like a handicapping contest, like the Breeders' Cup Betting Challenge, where you've got, 14 races on Friday or 13 races on Friday and 14 on Saturday to pick from. And where do you make the move? And I think that I always tell people, you just got to identify what you like, what you love. And it doesn't matter if it's the first race or the last. And you build your strategy around that. I'm sure people ask you guys all the time, hey, look, I've got $1 million. I want to try to get away with 2 of them here. What's the strategy you recommend I do to kind of make sure I can accomplish that?
You're giving us way too much credit, because very few people on the buy side want to play any cards. And everybody's got their own methodology and their own approach. So, once again, it goes back to the stylistic approach that they've got. The good news is, as I said, I think, and Evan said, you got buyers today that have confidence in the legwork, the preparation they've done. I don't know. I'm not sure there's any quote unquote strategy other than you better, if you love one, you try to buy it. And if you don't love one, don't try to buy it, even if it falls to a price that you think it's a bargain. Because if you don't love it, you don't feel good when the second the hammer falls, you better feel good about the horse that you bought. And so generally speaking.
Boy, you mentioned Cott Campbell, and it kind of made me think of a question that I would ask you. This podcast is supposed to be as if we're sitting around having beers, even though, I wish I was. I'm off today. I know you guys are working. But I know that it's tricky to kind of talk about current bloodstock agents, current owners, because of the relationships. You don't want to hurt anyone's feelings, but kind of some of the older, maybe people that are kind of out of the game now, whether it's retirement or they've moved on. Who are some of the highlights, the superlatives of just great horse flesh, or buyers or owners? You mentioned Cott, some of your favorite bloodstock agents that you thought were just outstanding, that maybe aren't involved anymore, so you don't have to worry about hurting anybody's feelings.
Well, I'm glad you gave me that caveat, because I was going to say there's no way in the world I'm going to touch this question with a 10-foot pole. There's no shot. I think the game has evolved. And I will say this. I'm actually going to mention somebody who's still engaged, that in my mind, Wayne Lucas changed the buying patterns of horses at thoroughbred auctions. He changed the game. Wayne came in and was really buying great physicals with enough pedigree, and has supreme confidence in his ability to pick out a horse and to train a horse, and really did transform the nature of what happens at an auction because of his great confidence and his great salesmanship. When Wayne buys a horse, he thinks it's going to win the Kentucky Derby or the Kentucky Oaks or the Breeders' Cup, and identified those types of horses. So, I literally think that Wayne changed the auction process during my career at Fasig-Tipton. There was, I mentioned Cott, on an international basis, a guy like, and actually was mentioned in the TDN article today by Bobby Flay, James Delhook was a really astute and unbelievable horseman, that really kind of understood horses from all over the world. That's one of the things that I really admire about some of the international participants, is I think I work pretty daggone hard. My wife would say I work too hard, and I really spend basically 95% of my time, rightly or wrongly, focused on North American racing. And yet we see some people in the game today that it's become an international game that have great knowledge of North American racing, European racing, Australian racing, Japanese racing. And it just kind of blows my mind that their capacity to be, proficient and effective in 4 major marketplaces around the world. I just admire that ability, because as I said, I spend 95% of my time on North America. So that's one of those things. It's easy to forget. And you asked that question. I thought, well, hell, I'll be able to rattle off like 4 or 5 names that come to mind. And I'm so focused on the current activities and the current buyers. I'm struggling a little bit, Jonathan, to give you too many other names.
I'll give you one who Boyd is very good friends with as well, Buzz Chase.
Yeah, Buzz.
He's been passed away, probably over 10 years now. He was just a great guy. He was really kind to me when I started out. And so he bought, years ago, he bought Unbridled Song up in Saratoga. And a couple things that he said that were interesting to me were he would talk about a horse, like the way it looked when it came in the back ring, like Unbridled Song, almost like he filled up with air and he was on his toes just a little bit. He said he liked that little bit of edge where it almost looked like they were a little nervous, but not quite to that level. He just thought that it was just a little bit of an athletic kind of feel to him. And like another thing he used to do, he used to sit here at the October sale where our tent set up back in the day. It was like there were 4 tents with a big courtyard in the middle. It was instead of in rows like they are now. And he would just sit there, on a seat or a bale of straw and just watch horses that were out across this giant field. And, they would be 75 feet away from him, but he saw so much from just sitting there and seeing horses from far away, and he'd get a feel for the horse with presence and things like that. And then he would walk over there and look at him. So it wasn't necessarily just going through every horse in the back or marking catalog pages. He just sat back there and watched until he saw something he liked.
Yeah. Good horse buyers, great horse buyers have a gift. It's a sixth sense. I don't know how to explain it. I wish I had it. If I had it, you'd be interviewing me like before my horse was going to run in the Whitney on Saturday rather than over there hustling. But it's that innate confidence. It's that innate ability. Same thing like with you, Jonathan. You can try to why do you can sometimes try to rationalize why you like a horse in the 8th, but part of it's just like I just do. I can't explain it. It feels right. I think that's a trait that really goes across all industries and all things. Why is so and so a great coach? Why did you make that move? And I don't know. It just seemed like the right thing to do. You talk to a political guy, like, why did you do that? Was it going against the popular opinion? I felt like it was the right thing. I mean, there's that innate ability to make a decision and to stick by your guns that I think makes really good horse buyers, more successful than everybody else. And one thing I think is kind of proven, if you get 38 people involved in the process in a committee, your chances of success diminish.
Oh, I can imagine. You see it happening. There's a lot of cooks in the kitchen at times, and I've seen that. You got to have someone who makes the final decision.
Absolutely right. The buck's got to stop somewhere.
Yeah, it's like you guys. You talk about betting all the time. You can talk about that pick 5 at Del Mar you're going to be alive for on Saturday night, the cocktail party. One person has to kind of make the final decision, because if you let everyone put in a couple of horses, next thing you know, you're all, and it doesn't really work that way. You got to have somebody that's going to crack some eggs.
Yeah, you got to make a call somewhere.
I can help you guys if you need any help. Just let me know.
Yeah, okay. You're in for a quarter.
Yeah, I'm in. All right, so let's talk a little bit about what's we got coming up here. So let's go through the logistics. Let's go with start time. There's not a stop time until I know you stop when you stop on Monday and Tuesday, and then the New York bred sale, which is another sneaky one that's very fun to go to if you're going to be up here in Saratoga. What are the dates? And then we'll kind of get into some of the fun horses we're looking forward to.
The Saratoga Sale is this month.
Oh, do we lose Evan?
Where'd Ev go?
We lost him.
Yeah.
All right. We lost you for a second, Evan. You're back. Go back to Monday. You start back at Monday.
Okay. So the Saratoga Sale takes place Monday and Tuesday, beginning at 6:30 p.m. on our grounds there in the Humphrey S. Finney Pavilion. Horses will begin being shown on Friday. So there's 3 days of inspections essentially. Some people wait till Saturday to start showing, but a good amount show Friday. And we'll sell about 119 a night cataloged. And then the New York bred sale will be the following Sunday and Monday. with horses begun being shown pretty much Friday. We take between the two sales, our crews got to go through and get all the stalls turned over and get ready for the second sale. So there's a couple days in between there. Anything? I'm trying to think.
And the New York bred
else there,
sale,
Corey?
the New York bred sale is during the day. Am I right?
Sunday, the Sunday session is in the evening, so that
Okay.
starts at 7 p.m. and then we start during the day the next day at noon.
Beautiful. I remember I came over there on a Monday. I came over on the second day, during the day, and had an adult beverage and watched a friend buy a New York bred. That was a lot of fun as well.
Yeah, New York bred's still great. It's a little more laid back than the main sale, but it's a great sale.
Yeah, it's still a lot of fun. All right, so let's talk about the Monday, Tuesday, the select sale. What and I know that you guys are just relaying to me what you're hearing, not so much your opinion, but just what you're hearing and what the buzz horses are and who are the horses that if you're at the sale, you want to make sure you're looking at the TV when these hips are running through. Some of the fun pedigrees, some of the champion mamas, some of the first crop stallions. Let us know some fun numbers that we can keep an eye on throughout the 2 days of the sale.
We love them all, Jonathan. We love them all. Any and all of them have the potential to be future champions, and that is the truth. So, you're into this slippery slope where we got to be careful here because we believe it or not, we haven't seen most of these horses in the last 75 days. And the consigners all love, they're in sales mode, which as they should be. They're telling you how great all their horses are doing. I've got 8 of the best horses I've ever sent to a sale. I've got 10 of the best horses. Everything's going great. Okay, cool. Understand. So we'll have a better idea of kind of the buzz horses who we love, again, when we get on the sales grounds and go through the horses ourselves over the weekend, or when the team goes through the horses. I don't go through the horses. We got people who know a hell of a lot more about horses and conformation on the grounds than me. But clearly the one horse that kind of has attracted the most initial attention is the first yearling out of Beholder to go to public auction. He's hip number 165, a Curlin colt out of Beholder. I think I was reading somewhere, but like the number of champions, in the pedigree, or the horses that Curlin sired that are champions, and the Beholder himself or herself, I think won like 4 championships. He's a lovely, lovely colt, and obviously just an amazing pedigree. So it's the first, as I said, it's the first Beholder baby that they've sold, and I think he's probably got the most pre-sale attention. Doesn't mean he's going to be the most expensive. Doesn't mean he can't be the most expensive, but he's probably got, just from a general public standpoint, would be the most, quote unquote, interesting offering. One of the things that we really do try to do, and I think we're really proud of this year, is just like the diversity of stallions. We've got over 50 stallions represented in the catalog. There's a really interesting and fun crop of freshman sires. We've got 13 new stallions that have yearlings in the sale. We've got yearlings by literally all the leading sires. Into Mischief, Tappet, Not This Time. I'm going to get in trouble because I'm going to leave some of them out, but you literally go through the top 15 leading stallions, and we've basically got them all represented with strong numbers. And the one thing I think is really encouraging for all of us is like the first crop of 3-year-olds this year is you've got some stallions that are really, you got Good Magic, who's got, obviously the Derby winner in his first crop. You got a horse like Justify, who has exploded in the last, 45, 60 days. You got a horse like Bolt d'Oro, who's just consistently getting, really top end runners. Just like those three have like kind of bubbled to the top of those second crop sires. But to have horses of that caliber, kind of like you say, like, how are we going to ever replace Tappet? And not that he's not, he's having another brilliant year, but it is amazing how the shoes seem to get filled by new horses that come along, and the cream rises to the crop. You don't ever know where the cream's going to come from, but we're really, it's a great catalog. Lots of, tremendous producers and tremendous racehorses on the female side. So arguably it might be the best catalog that we've had in my 35 years at Fasig-Tipton.
Yeah, I would say the strength of the pedigrees and producers is especially significant this year. Just siblings to Grade 1 winners. I mean, we've got siblings to Sippacan Harbor, Caledonia Road, Count Again, Verrazano, Leofric, Nickname, Hunter O'Reilly, Improbable, Rockfall, Shamrock Rose, Princess of Silmar, Silver State, Pizza Bianca, Casa Creed. I mean, those are serious horses. And as far as out of the good mares, other than Beholder, I mean, we've got, foals out of like Icon Project, Love the Way You Are, Paola Queen, Rachel Valentina, Separation of Power, Yellow Agate, all Grade 1 winners themselves. So, I mean, and that's just at that level. So, I mean, there's siblings to, 120 plus stakes horses in here. So, I mean, you're not necessarily just taking a flyer because these mares have already proven themselves.
Talk a little bit about, Bobby had mentioned it to me, Filet, about the Not This Time share. What hip is what quote unquote hip is that?
We haven't assigned an official hip yet because we're trying to work through the accounting side on our end. It's going to be the first hip, lot, etc., that goes to the ring on Tuesday night. It's a great opportunity. I mean, he's off to an amazing start. That stud, Not This Time is. The thing that's really cool about him that I find really interesting about Not This Time is he's got fillies that run. He's got colts that run. He's got horses that run on the dirt. He's got horses that run on the grass. He's got precocious horses in terms of going 6 furlongs. Horse that won the 1 3/4 at Saratoga next the other day, going long. I mean, he's really you hate to use the term, but everybody does. He ticks all the boxes in terms of producing, graded, highest quality horses, fillies and colts, dirt and grass, short and long. I mean, kind of like, okay, well, we've got them all ticked. So, but it's going to be offered on Tuesday night. The TaylorMade guys have all the information in terms of the details about the syndicate and so forth. But a really kind of cool aspect, and we're excited to have that opportunity.
Yeah, I'm sure there's a lot of red tape and legal stuff. I won't ask you guys to explain how that share works. Like you mentioned, if you have any questions, you can reach out to the guys at TaylorMade about exactly what the share looks like. But it seems like a really fun opportunity for people that play in those waters and play in that game. Talk a little bit about the process of sales night for you guys. I mean, I'm sure you still are firefighters that night, running around putting out fires. Boyd, I've seen you. Every time I look up, your nose is in the catalog, and you're focusing on what is happening. So I'm assuming you're just paying attention to figure out, just to keep a feel for what's going on.
Yeah, literally, like someone says, like, what do I do during a sale? And I say, if things go perfectly, I do absolutely nothing. And that's I do. If things go perfect, I have no responsibilities on sale night. And whatever can go wrong, I'm afraid that we could list the things that can have happened. It can go wrong at a sale, and we're not going to go into there. I learned many, many years ago not to say, oh my God, what else can go wrong? Because the list is infinite. From weather. I mean, that's literally one of the biggest, you worry about, weather. It was not that long ago. We had to literally stop the New York bred sale on a Saturday night when it was used to be Saturday, Sunday. And because a tree fell, the lightning, it was raining so hard, we stopped selling after like the third hip.
Yeah, we had to pull a tree off a barn.
Yeah, you call a timeout. One of the greatest nights of Saratoga Sale history was probably 20 years ago, and I don't have the exact year, but literally, huge storm rolled through Saratoga, and everything, all the power was knocked out in Saratoga, including on the sales grounds. But fortunately, somebody, not me, had the foresight we have a backup generator, and the backup generator kicked on like boom, like within 30 seconds at the start of the sale. It was 100. It felt like it was 100 degrees and 100% humidity, and everybody had to be inside the pavilion. it was miserable, but it was the most electric night, no pun intended, of selling horses that I've ever seen because everybody was concentrated. And they couldn't leave. It was raining so hard and so nasty outside. But people were saying that there was pictures of flying over Saratoga, total darkness, except for like the pavilion lit up with the temporary or the backup lights, which was, that was really a cool night because it was an unbelievable night of sales. But that's when, the things that you do in advance to try to prevent disasters worked. The lights came on, the backup generator came on, and, we were able to continue the sale, and it went off flawlessly. So those are things that kind of make you proud of, all the unsung heroes that go into every damn sale that you do. I go talk to the press after the sale, and, everybody says, great job, great job, great job. Well, like they're at Saratoga this year, involved in the process and actually on the grounds. I mean, we'll have over 50 people involved, from bid spotters to auctioneers to ticket runners to sales staff to maintenance to the man like literally scooping horses. I mean, like, horses they're gonna poop, and somebody's got to be the scoop man. And there's, the number of people that are involved in making that sale go is really infinite. But the what makes it really fun for us, or not, it's fun, is just like the pride that people take in what they do. I mean, it's like, we have, Monday and Tuesday we go back to back, play Super Bowl Monday night, play Super Bowl Tuesday night, and everybody involved on our staff is like not 100% engaged, it's like 110% engaged and committed to making sure everybody does everything humanly possible to make sure the horses sell great and people have a great experience. And that's kind of the cool thing about it, is just seeing how, how much people care.
Well, the last one I wanted to end with, just because I think it's one of the most interesting ones, is the auctioneer and the bid spotters. I mean, obviously, so much of what is accomplished is on their shoulders, through, being exciting and finding the right time to give it a beat and let it breathe, and the bid spotters being enthusiastic to engage the buyer into going one more time. And how much of that, boy, do you guys communicate about in terms of, make sure they're on, make sure you're this, let's do this, if this happens, do this, strategic wise, or is it just, you just kind of leave it in their hands as professionals?
Jonathan, I think it's like when you've got a great team, and I think we've got the best auction team in the world. They're professionals. This isn't something they do on a part-time basis or just happenstance. I mean, they're the best of the best, whether it's the auctioneers or whether it's the bid spotters. And they and once again, it kind of goes back to that sixth sense. If you're a bid spotter, there are certain people that kind of want to make a show about bidding and be engaged and be very visible. There's others that want to be really, really discreet. And for the person who wants to be discreet, you have to respect that. For the person who wants to make a show, you help them make a show. You help them be the star of that section. No. And they know it's the Super Bowl. I mean, hell, they're black tie. They know. I mean, they know what Saratoga means to us. And when you got a Hall of Fame rider on a horse, you don't give them a whole lot of instructions. I'll just tell them, boys and girls, work hard, do the very best you can, and let's have 2 great nights of sales. That's my coaching is, do all you can really do at the end. All you ask people and all you ask of yourself is to do the very best that you can, and just to be engaged, to be prepared, and it's all you can do. And the good news is I don't have to give any speeches. I don't have to do it. Nobody wants to listen to my bullshit speech anyway. They're thinking, would you shut up and let us go do our job? And the good news is that we've got people that go do their jobs very efficiently and effectively.
Evan, if somebody is not aware and they want to get involved, what's the best way to reach out to get cleared up, to make sure they can participate financially? Can they shoot an email? Can they shoot a text? Who should we reach out to?
Oh yeah. So, I mean, on our website, we've got credit applications and directions on what to do. So You can fill out one of those. We can connect you with Joe Smith, our CFO, and just tell us how much credit you'd like to take out, and we'll take it from there and get everybody lined up. One person that did not have credit once, though, was my first year at Saratoga. There was a gentleman that worked on the grounds crew at Naira that might have been a bit overserved and found himself the owner of a 7-figure King Mambo filly with 0 credit. And I was still an intern, and I knew how much Boyd was devoted to the sales process when this guy pulled a runner, and I saw him in a full suit do a 4.540 down East Avenue to get
I caught him too, JK.
What do you even do in that situation? I mean, he doesn't have 7 figures.
Well, that was one of those instances where it was you knew it didn't make any sense, and the bidding was not right. It went like 100, 150,000, 200, 250, and some jackass raises his hand as $1 million. And once in 1,000 times, somebody will jump the bid or they'll open the bid at a really high level, and it wasn't right. And then so literally the hammer falls and doesn't feel right. I'm standing upstairs, and it was like something's terribly askew here, and the guy's like, kind of runs out the side door there, like Sarah's at the pavilion, and it was like, oh shit. So we've
seen it all.
We caught the guy. He's like, I'm sorry, I didn't know what I was doing. You're like, oh god, he's drunk. Brought the horse back to the ring and sold pretty daggone well. You talked to the owner, the consignor. The owner knew something was wrong. Unfortunately, horse came back to the ring and sold very, very well. But that's why I say you don't ever ask what else can go wrong, because you don't want to know.
Don't end up like that guy. Establish credit.
No. And it's the funny part about that. On our way out here, I was going to tell the story. Last year, I was sitting up in the like kind of like the champagne room on the balcony looking over, and I was just talking. Probably talking to my wife or fiance at the moment, whatever. At the time, and then somebody was trying to get my attention down below, and was like waving and like, hey, and Boyd beelined to that person and said, hey, we're having an auction here. And I slowly backpedaled away from the edge of the balcony. I didn't want Boyd to see that he's waving at me.
So that was
I wasn't waving at him. I wasn't waving at him.
That was you. Huh?
I wasn't waving at him. He was waving at me. So I just wanted you to know that. I don't even like the guy, Boyd, so it wasn't me. I promise.
Okay. All right.
Guys, I know it's like you said, it's your Super Bowl, and it's also, from a fan standpoint, I want to say thank you for putting on such a great party for all of us to attend that maybe aren't buying horses, and wish you all the best of luck, and hope the hammer drops in the ways that makes you guys happy and your customers happy, your buyers and your sellers. And thanks again for putting on such a great party for us.
Well, we've all been kind of the last week. We've really been in the mentalities that we're ready to get up there and do it again. So,
no, and JK, appreciate you're part of what makes Saratoga special. Once again, it's 1,000 people that contribute to making it special. Your enthusiasm, your love for the racing, your love for the game, your enthusiasm. I mean, there's no doubt this is your favorite 6 weeks of the year also. I mean, it's like, and we all feel that energy. And the cool thing is we all feed off of that. So we look forward to seeing you. We really look forward to seeing G. But I mean, that's to be expected. But appreciate you having us on, and hope everybody has a great Saratoga experience this year.
We'll see you guys Monday night.
All right. We'll see you
Saturday. You're putting together the late pick five for us.
I'll see you Saturday night. Everybody else will see you Monday.
Okay. All right.
Thanks, fellas. I appreciate you guys taking the time. I know that this is, like you said, your Super Bowl's coming up, and you spent an hour with me a week before that, and I appreciate that. Excited to get people talking about the sale. Like I said at the top, this is my favorite night during the entire 8-week process here at Saratoga, and we're really looking forward to getting over there and being involved in the best cocktail party in racing and seeing some of these fun horses. So I'm excited to watch this Curl and Beholder. That's going to be a ton of fun. That'll be probably night 2 I think Evan said 119 hips will go through on night one. That hip is listed as 165, so we won't see that one until Tuesday night. Make sure you get there for both nights. Bring your energy and keep your hands in your pockets. I still always forget sometimes, but like he said, they're professionals, the bid spotters. You should be able to shake loose there. Maybe just text people when you're trying to get their attention. Maybe that's the best way to go about it. I mean, unless you got a million laying around, but I'd be careful there. But I want to thank them for taking the time. I want to thank Qatar Racing. We're rooting for you guys to let that hammer drop with you being that high number. We don't want to hear any of these underbidder stories. We want our friends at Qatar Racing to continue to expand their involvement here in the U.S. And if I'm not mistaken, I'm going to do this thing. I'm going to go fast here. I think they might have one in the stake on. I'm not going to do this to you. Yes, I am. Just hold on. Just keep waiting. We can talk about something else for a second. Let's see here. Is it Friday or is it Saturday? I can't remember now. It wouldn't be Saturday. Is it the Saratoga Oaks? Let's see. Is Caroline? Am I right here? No. I thought Caroline Street maybe had something to do with Qatar. Fergus Galvin threw me off there. Caroline Street. Very interesting story there. I'll tell everyone sometime. Anyways, look, we'll see you at the sale on Monday night. We'll see you at the Whitney, and we'll see you at the sale on Tuesday night. It's going to be a ton of fun. The best weekend and 2 days after a weekend in Saratoga. I want to thank everyone in the Money Media. Thanks PTF. Thanks Drew. Thanks to everyone else who has a show on the network. Because I'm talking way too long, I'm going to get out of here. Got a big week of handicapping. Pick 6 carryover on Wednesday as well. See you guys next week.
I need to know everything, who and the what and the where, I need everything. Trust me, I hear what you're saying, but act like it's new what you're telling me. I'm curious, George, I hop in the Porsche, it's 5 and a horse, I'm ready for war, I'm coming for throats, to turn to a ghost, I need to know everything. Now you be surprised at the info you get is by letting them talk, so I'm letting them talk.